Let's go on an adventure. We start off in the Pacific Ocean, east of the Philippines and about 200 kilometers east of the Mariana Islands, at the Marianas Trench. This massive gash in the surface of the Earth measures about 2,550 kilometers long and can be up to 11 kilometers deep. It may look like a hostile environment to live in, but the deep sea is actually home to many different species of organisms, ranging from crabs to octopus and, of course, fish. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Where does it start? What provides food and energy for the animals that live here? Who are the producers? The waters are far too deep for any sunlight to penetrate and sustain plant life. So how does this ecosystem prosper? The answer lies within the Earth itself, and in hydrothermal vents. The Earth's ever-moving tectonic plates can create cracks in the ocean floor. Water enters these cracks, is heated up by the Earth's magma, and is spewed out again through the aforementioned hydrothermal vents. But the water now contains minerals such as hydrogen sulfide. The vents can reach temperatures of up to 400 degrees Celsius. Despite this rather intimidating aspect, hydrothermal vents are actually fountains of life. Sound crazy? It is. The chemicals that the water brings with it from the Earth's magma are very useful for the bacteria-like organisms known as archaea. Using a process called chemosynthesis, archaea are able to turn the chemicals from the vents into energy. These amazing microorganisms are essentially the drive of life of the ecosystem, the producers, with hydrothermal vents as their very own sun. This is why deep sea life is so amazing. It's some of the only life that can sustain a full-on ecosystem entirely without the energy of the sun. You may now be wondering, how do these organisms get access to fresh water? Well, most of the animals that live in these types of ecosystems have adapted to be able to process excess salt out of saltwater and are able to drink it. Since the salt content in their bodies is much less than that of the ocean, the animals must drink a great deal of water so that their salt level doesn't saturate their water level. By the way, freshwater fish do the opposite. They need to ensure that water doesn't dilute their salt content. Now that we have the big picture, let's take a closer look at a specific species. Tube worms! Tube worms are interesting creatures. Although their appearance is plant-like, tube worms are actually invertebrates, animals. They can grow up to 3 meters in height. But how do tube worms get their energy? In early stages, tube worms actually have mouths. They allow archaea to enter their mouths and stay there. As the tube worm grows, its features, such as its mouth, disappear, but the archaea remain. Using their chemosynthesis, archaea provide nutrients for the tube worm, while the tube worm provides them a shelter, and thus a symbiotic relationship is born. It's amazing how organisms can work together to thrive in such harsh conditions. It doesn't end there, though. It's only the beginning. The tube worm is but one species in an immense web of creatures who consume other creatures, and so on, eventually getting to the top of the food chain. Animals such as sharks at the top of the food chain have no natural predators. Nothing eats them. However, these animals will eventually die. When they do, their remains become food for decomposers. These are animals that essentially clean up the corpses of all dead organisms. Eventually, decomposers are eaten themselves, or die and are decomposed, and everything restarts. It's a never-ending cycle. This is what we call the carbon cycle. It's been a great trip deep down in the Marianas Trench, but it's time to go back home now. Now, let's recap. Deep sea life sustains full-on ecosystems entirely without the sun. The sun is abiotic, which means it's not living, but it's still very important to many ecosystems. But the deep sea uses a different abiotic element, and those are hydrothermal vents. The other necessary abiotic element is water, which is all around them. They just need to process the salt out of it. The producers in the ecosystem are archaea, that use chemosynthesis to produce energy. Primary, secondary, and tertiary consumers go on from there in the vast food web of the deep sea. I hope this video has been helpful to you in learning about the carbon cycle of the deep sea. And thanks for watching. The Earth's ever-moving tectonic plates can create cracks in the may now be wondering, how do these organisms get access to fresh water? Well, most of the animals that live in